Yeah. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Vince Pass in the building. I know what it is. We here for another episode of the Chop. Uh, yeah. My man Big Kid in the building. Good evening, everyone. We here. Let's go. Uh, Shout outs to everyone that's able to make it. I know y'all all had a long day. It's Wednesday, hump day. We made it. What's going on, cousin? How you doing this evening? Shout out to my cousin Malcolm. Thanks for making it, man. Hey, right now, like and share this right now. We on Facebook. We on IG right now. What's going on? We on YouTube. Go on to my YouTube channel, Vince Pass. You on Facebook, just share it. Vince, I'm that dude Pass. I'm on Vince Pass IG right now. And I'm on One Voice, One Mic. Let's get at it. Yes, sir. Man. Yo, a lot of things going on in the news today, but we're not going to worry about all that right now. We're going to worry about what's going on in this live, beautiful podcast. I got my man R3, Robert Raymond Riopel in the building. You get ready to log on and sign on in a second. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about why is chaos not only normal, but critical in life, and how do we utilize it? So listen, I need for y'all to strap on your hats, get a pen and paper, okay? Because we about to run down some things tonight. You feel what I'm saying? I'm dealing with a certified life coach killer right here. You feel me? Certified life coach killer. All right? So shout out to my guy who made my intro, my guy Munir. Thank you for always having my intro on and ready to go. Hey, yo, let's get ready to take off, man. You feel me? Watch the eyes come back in. Yeah. Let's get it. Yeah. What's going on, man? What's going on? We're going to go ahead and get this up off the air right now. You feel what I'm saying? Again, my name is Vince Pass. I'm your host for The Chop. You can catch it on Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays, be there. I got the One Voice, One Mic podcast. You catch that on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast. I'm on like several different platforms. Anchor.fm. Man, I'm on a whole bunch of stuff, man. Thank you, Jesus. I know you could do it. You feel me? But anyway, without further ado, I'm introducing my man, Big Rob, in the building. R3, you feel me? Robert Raymond Riopel in the building. I don't got the hand claps up now, but I can get some for you next time that we rock and roll.
Oh, man, Vince, I'm loving the energy already. I know we're going to have just a little bit of fun. Just a little bit. That's it.
Just a little
bit. Just a little bit. No, we're going to have a lot of it. A lot of it.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I want to tell you thank you for coming on with me this evening. I know you're very busy. I know you had a real hectic schedule today. I was trying to get with you earlier today. You was like, yo, I'm booked up today, but thank you for carving out this little half hour, 45-minute segment for me right now. Listen, we just going to jump right into it. You know, I gave Rob a nickname today. His name is R3, all right? R3 spans across the universe now. So when y'all see him, y'all can be like, hey, R3. You know what I'm saying? It's a New York thing. You know what I mean? It's a New York thing. So, Rob, listen. I want to talk to you right now. I want you to tell my listeners a lot about you. Just tell them a lot about you.
Well, you know, Vince, I am blessed to be an international best-selling author. I am an app designer, serial entrepreneur, and I'm also, probably my greatest blessing is I'm traveling around the world, being able to impact people's lives. I usually do 3 to 5 day trainings, anywhere from 100 to 6,000 students at a time. I'm on stage for up to 12 hours a day. And one of the reasons I'm loving being on this already is because you and I have the same kind of energy. Not only that, we have the same kind of aerodynamic haircut. You got to love that, you know. I love what someone told me once. They said, you know, I may be bald, but I walk about 20% faster than other people because I have no drag of the hair happening.
No wind holding us back.
That's right. That aerodynamics allows us to do well.
So what about the app? Let's talk about the app designing thing real quick. What kind of apps do you design?
Well, you know, it's only been one app, and it's an app that, you know, it kind of came by, well, I'm not going to say by mistake, because everything happens for a reason. I was in the middle of writing my book, my first book, Success Left a Clue. And not only do I love to train around the world, but I love being a student. Any chance I can be in an audience learning something, I'm there. And I had been at an event where I was doing a keynote speech, and then I had time off, so they had breakout rooms. So I decided to go check out a couple rooms. And I walked into the wrong room. But of course, it wasn't the wrong room. I sat down thinking I was in a room talking about something else, and I don't even remember what it was. And all of a sudden, this guy on stage starts talking about apps. And I realized I'm in the wrong room, and he's giving statistics. So I get up and I start walking out. But then he said something, Vince, that stopped me in my tracks. He said, most businesses, they will start their business, get a website, and then as an afterthought, they may design an app. What about if you were to design an app first and use it to launch your business? So I sat back down, I listened, and I let him finish, and he talked to a bunch of people after, and I waited, and then I went up to him and I said, look, I have a question for you. I said, I'm writing a book right now. Can you use an app to write a book? And he says, well, tell me what your book's about. So I started outlining the 6 steps in my book, and he started rattling off all these things we could do on an app, and my jaw dropped, and I'm like, you can do that with an app? And he said, absolutely. So we started designing an app. We built out an app it's called Amentora. Take the word mentor, put an A at the beginning, A at the end, and it's like having a mentor in your pocket. And so we coded out version 1, and here's kind of a hint for your listeners. And I heard someone else say it, actually the gentleman who started Podmatch. He said, let's get it done ugly, figure out what people want, and then fix it, right? So version 1, we put it out ugly, and we learned very quickly what was working, what wasn't. And so we're coding version number 2, which makes version 1 look like it was the kindergarten.
Right.
And version 2 is going to be so much more dynamic. And it's my book in an app. You can create dream boards. You can find accountability partners. You'll have success journals, 6 major journals you can write in. We incorporate artificial intelligence. The coding is so secure, even the developers ourselves, we'll never be able to read what someone writes into their own private journals. So it's something that we're having fun with.
Okay, so can I get the spelling on that again?
So take the word mentor
and
just put an A at the beginning, an A at the end. So Amentora.
All right, I'm going to put that up right now so everybody can see this.
Yeah, now version 1 is no longer up. I'm just going to let you know because we took it down while we're doing coding version 2, and we're looking, in the next few months, we'll bring version 2 back up and running.
Okay, so that's what it's called, Amentora. So when it comes out, it's going to probably be on Google Play Store, right?
Absolutely. We'll have it everywhere.
You better make sure you send me an email because I got to get that, buddy. Yeah. I got to get that.
Oh, and it's really cool because it's about helping people who want to go to the next step know how to connect people. And think of it, one of the versions we'll do, it'll be like Airbnb, who just out of curiosity, little known fact, Joe Jr., the main person that started Airbnb, in 2008, he was in my audience, and we gave him a swift kick in the butt, and that's when he decided to get serious about Airbnb, went back to his 2 partners, his roommates, and they started coding it out. And last time I looked, they're valued at about $35 billion. And he started in the training room. He had the idea, and we kicked him in the butt and said, get her done.
Man. So let's just jump into it, man. Let's just go into it, man. Why is chaos not only normal, but critical in life, and how do we utilize it? Why do you feel chaos is just normal? Let's talk about it. Why do you feel chaos is normal?
Because look, as human beings, we're meant to evolve. Do you think God wants you to stay stagnant and never change? Or does he want you to grow and learn and develop? You have to evolve. But most people get stuck because they get comfortable. They get, well, this is the way I've always done it. And if you've noticed, and I'm going to ask it like this to you, Vince, have you ever noticed that sometimes you get little lessons sent to you? And if you ignore them, they come again with more intensity. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, so most people, because chaos, they think it's something that's bad. They think that it's something that they have to resist. And so when they resist it, the intensity gets turned up and it comes at you again. So because we're humans meant to evolve, chaos is our way to help us get unstuck and evolve. And so it is natural. And what's cool is you actually can embrace chaos. And by embracing it, you can actually volunteer to evolve and become a greater person. And when I'm talking about being greater, I want to be clear. not just in wealth. I'm talking mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. All areas of life is the areas that you want to grow in. So when I talk about 4 phases of life, chaos is what I tag as the unclutter phase. And why I call it unclutter is because during chaos, when chaos enters your life, you want to courageously volunteer to destroy something. Meaning, this is the time to maybe complete a relationship, business or personal, that just is not working in your life. This is the time that maybe you destroy a thought, a belief that has not been serving you, but you've been stuck in it. And I come from the experience of when I grew up, I was an in-the-box thinker. It's like you don't question things. This is the way it's done. When you go to work, even if you don't like the job, if it's giving you a pay and it's secure, you do it to support your family, whether you like it or not. That was kind of the way I grew up. And so when chaos comes in, by the time I'm 21, I've been laid off from 3 different companies. And I'm going, I'm working hard. I'm staying loyal. Why do they keep shutting these places down?
Is it me? Job.
That's right. Is it me? I started getting a complex because all 3 of the jobs, they actually shut them down. And I'd been working my way up, and I'm like, I'm showering, and it can't be me. It's got to be something. And so when I realized that I was getting it stuck, and I've been blessed to surround myself with people that aren't willing to let me stay stuck. They're not willing to let me play smaller than I am. And one of those people, as an example, the greatest person in my life is my wife. We met when we were 13. We started dating when we were 16. We got married when we were 19. And we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary.
And don't do the math. That's the young lady whose name is in the beginning of the book in the dedication, correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
No one for me.
He's like, 3-pointer. Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, and so when I started learning about chaos, and I want to give credit where credit is due, and I'd love to introduce this gentleman to you. I nicknamed him. You're talking about nicknames. I nicknamed him the Quantum Monk. And the reason I did is because not only was he a monk for 8 years and actually did over 15,000 hours of meditation, he also studies quantum physics. So he can tell you all about spirituality, and then he can back it up with science. The guy is like brilliant. And during his studies, that's where he came across what he called the chaos modules. But you see, it wasn't his passion to teach it. And when I'm learning it, I'm like, this needs to get out to the world. I said, let me teach it. And he's like, absolutely. So we spent hours on Zoom where I'm talking to him, making sure I'm getting it. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the mentor becomes a student. All of a sudden, at the end of our conversation, he's like, man, you took this deeper than I'd even imagined. In a conversation you and I were having on the phone a little earlier before this call, or before the recording and the live, that's kind of what happened with me and Mr. Les Brown. Mimi Brown's baby boy, Les Brown. You gotta be hungry.
Let's talk about Les for a second. A second. So, like we was talking about before, like I said, I read something about this book, and in the foreword, and it said you will affect people with your greatness or affect them with your mediocrity. Now, I have a mentor myself. You know what I'm saying? He's my best friend. He's been my best friend since I was we was kids. You feel what I'm saying? And his name is Kenny Gordon. Okay. And he mentors me, gives me great advice. He says a lot of things to me. And here's the one thing that Kenny said to me that was so relevant. And he said to me, Vince, it's your turn. It didn't matter what the situation was. I was going through a divorce at the time. He said, Vince, it's your turn. I was going through some crazy stuff at one time. Vince, it's just your turn. Don't think that you're the only one going through it. Just that it's just your turn.
That's right. And you're hitting on something very, very important right there. That's chaos. And that's when he's saying it's your turn, that's him telling you to embrace it. Because that's you now evolving to the next level of your life, right? And so when my quote of, either you're affecting people with greatness or infecting them with your mediocrity, so many people have been conditioned to be mediocre. to live mediocre lives. And you've got to realize you're impacting people every day, whether you talk to them or not. Your energy's impacting them. And so when you're truly living in your greatness, and because as Les says, you've got greatness in you. And when you're living in your greatness with confidence, not arrogance, big difference. See, what's happening is you and I we could see each other on the street and we could be talking to someone else. You were talking about this. You're listening, overhearing someone else, giving advice to someone. But see, that person's energy was so powerful, it tuned you in. You said, I got to listen to this. And it impacted your life because that person giving the advice was living in their greatness. And they were affecting you. See, the person who got the advice that you said didn't take it, he was leading the mediocre. And so he's infecting people by living the mediocre life.
Oh, hold on. I need to fan myself right now. It's getting hot in there. That's what I'm talking about. Man, listen, so the mediocrity stage, and you talked about confidence and mediocrity. You did what I'm saying. So, of course, we in our intelligence, okay, when we thinking on higher levels, let's break down how the confidence affects the mediocrity. How the mediocrity becomes the life.
Right. Well, and it comes from what you learn when you're growing up. It comes from what you heard, what you saw, what you experienced growing up. And so, look, even I don't care who you are, everybody has some kind of self-doubt at some point in their life and time. Look, I took 3.5 years off from training because I got burnt out from overtraining, and I went through 2 back surgeries because I wasn't taking care of myself while I was living my passion. And when I was getting ready to come out of training, my wife noticed something was going on in my mind. She's like, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing. And she's like, bull. She goes, what's going on? And I'm like, what if I don't have it anymore? And she's like, pardon me? I said, what if I don't have it? She goes, are you done with that? So what do you mean am I done? What if I don't know how to train anymore? It's been 3.5 years. And she goes, are you done with that? Let that crap go. She goes, the moment you step on that stage, it's like you weren't even gone. And Vince, of course, she was right. Right? But I went through the self-doubt. And this is one of the reasons in my book I put the 6 steps of creating a life. Because step 1 is dream big, not just dream. And as Les Brown says, the issue is not that we set our goals too high and we miss them. The issue is we set them too low and we hit them. That's the problem. So it's about dreaming big again. Then you find a mentor or someone to model from. So like when I met Les Brown for the first time, I'm doing a training where I'm training. I've got about 200 trainers in the room. I'm teaching them how the next level of training, how to do what I do. And we brought Les in to be a guest because he is just a master at being a speaker. He is a master at what he does. And so I get to meet him and I'm like awestruck because he's been a mentor of mine and he didn't even know it. And we get to go and have dinner together. And while we're having dinner, he says, tell me about, I keep hearing your students talking about the marketing, the way you guys do marketing. So during dinner, I kind of laid it out to him. And I didn't know what he was going to do, right, Vince? We come back into the room after dinner. He gets on stage and he's getting ready to say goodbye to everybody. And he says, I want to let you know something. He says, Robert's now my mentor. He said, because in the last 20 years, I've made $22 million. With what Robert just taught me in the last 45 minutes, I'm going to make another $22 million in the next 2 years. So he's now my mentor. And it's like, do you think I could have planned that?
Not at all.
See, I was just being me. See, and owning with confidence, I wasn't sitting there going, hey, Mr. Brown, let me tell you how great I am. I was just being me.
Right.
And so my confidence and impact, and next thing he's inviting me to come down and audit one of his events. Because he's like, I want you in the back of the room and I want you and your wife, because my wife is a logistics master. He said, I want you to watch my 3-day training and you tell me what I need to do to go to another level. See, that's another reason I love that man. He's even with all his experience, he's not willing to sit there and go, I know it all. You can't teach me anything. He's sitting there, please come. You have something I need to know. Please teach me. And so we became great friends at that point because he is just one of the most genuine, authentic people I know. So
in his humility, you feel me?
Yes.
In his humility, he impacted he impacted your life greatly at that moment, even though you had it was something that he needed to learn. In his
Yeah,
humility, he said to you, like, yo, you got something that I want. And then he impacted you like, wait a minute, what?
yeah, yeah. And see, and that's why step two, not only is it find a mentor or someone to model from, but at the same time, you ask yourself, who can I be a mentor to?
Right.
Who can I model for? And people go, but Robert, Vince, I haven't done anything great. I have nothing to share with people. And I'm like, bull, you've gone through tough times. So find people, if you got through something, find people who are going through it and show them how to get through it with less pain, less stress, less struggle. You can be a mentor. Start giving. And you know, I'll tell another kind of thing that endeared me with Les. Back when I first met him, my mom had just been diagnosed with cancer, and it came on really rapidly. And I was talking to him because I knew his journey and I knew he had kicked it. And he's like, what's her address? I'm like, why? He goes, I'm sending her some of my recordings on what I use to get through my cancer. He said, I want to get it to her ASAP. And within days, my mom and dad had, now not to date ourselves, but they were cassette tapes.
Okay. Yeah.
and you know, and it was interesting because I struggled with this because my mom wasn't doing well and she was a little open to listening, but my dad had not. He had a closed mind.
Right.
And you know, and my mom ended up passing away less than a year later. It hit her hard, and it took her very quickly. But that man, just to say, let me send something that I believe will help. And he didn't ask for anything in return. It was just his genuineness. So the mentoring part, it goes both ways. And when you have great relationships with people, that's what it is. It's a go with the flow, give and a take. It's not a come give. How much are you going to give me? It's not, right?
Right.
Step number three, you got to take action, because that's the biggest thing. Most people don't take action. But step number 4 is one of the most important ones. That's celebrate your success. See, this is what most people don't do, Vince, and they wonder why they end up sabotaging their success. This is why they end up playing mediocre, is because they'll sit there and they'll go, you know, probably the most people hear in their head after doing something pretty great, eventually their mind will say these words: no big deal. It'll try and tell them that was no big deal, you know, and it'll rob them of their. So I start every day with my success journal. It started off with at least 5 successes from the day before, because I started my day focusing on what's been going right in my life.
Right.
And over the years, it's morphed to my success and gratitude journal, because man, there's so much to be grateful for. So much.
Yes,
even in
much.
this time of the pandemic, you know, people I know have been losing loved ones. People I know have been losing work. People have been going broke. But if you focus on that, you're just going to get more of it. So start focusing on all the things that have been going right in your life. Who are the true friends? Connect with them. Probably one of the greatest blessings that this pandemic gave me is I finally had the chance and time, because I was always so busy, to actually start having some deep connections and conversations with friends I hadn't talked to in years. And that, what a blessing that is. To just get on the phone and say, hey, how you doing, Vince? We haven't talked in a long time. And here was, in the beginning, here's a lot of the response. You could hear it in their voices. What do you want? What are you waiting for? And all of a sudden, by about 15 minutes in a conversation, they're realizing that I'm just connecting because I thought of them. I feel grateful for them being in my life, and I want to connect. All of a sudden, you feel the energy just shift. And it's what a feeling that is. But I could have kept, playing the victim. March 10th, 2020, I arrived back in Canada where I live from doing a 3-day training in India. March 11th, I get locked down. My entire world changes. And for the first couple weeks, because all my live events are being canceled, and the first couple weeks I went into victim role. I was so in victim role, I made myself sick thinking I had COVID. And my wife, who refused to isolate me, she wanted to take care of me, she got sick. There were days we're in bed, we could barely wake up for an hour. An hour. And we're waiting because the world didn't know. We couldn't get tests. We we'd sit there and sleep while we're listening to being on hold for our health science place for 5, 6, 7 hours trying to make an appointment to get a test.
Jeez.
It took us a week and a half to book a test. We finally got the test. Then it took another week to get the results, which of course came back negative. But see, that's how powerful the mind is. And the moment we got that negative, all of a sudden we felt so much better. And then we asked ourselves 2 very important words that I use a lot in my life. What's next? What's next? Because our life had changed. So now it was time to reinvent. I was traveling 200,000 miles a year around the world teaching. But now I'm at home. And I'll tell you, I'm blessed. I have a beautiful property. And one of our dreams, the reason we bought this property, was to eventually build our own training center. So instead of me traveling around the world, my students could travel to see me. And I could work with them one-on-one. I could work mastermind groups, small groups. Well, my wife looked at me and she said, you've always wanted to go digital. We've wanted to do traveling less. We figured we'll build in about 5 years. Why not build now?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing right now because I'm thinking about your wife and I'm saying to myself, who really had the vision here?
Right? It wasn't me.
The vision.
No, Vince, I will tell you, if it was left to me, I would be in a job miserable right now. Miserable because of my programming. The running joke in our family, I was innocent until I met my wife. And then she corrupted me in so many good ways. So many good ways. And I'll be the first to admit it. So, and now in 1 week, I move into my new training center that we broke ground in December. I've now got a 1,500 square foot training center for audio, video. I got my new offices off the back of my house. And
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes. That's
But
what's
look,
up.
here's the chaos hit. And instead of saying, oh crap, I said, what's next? Instead of saying, I better hold back, I better play small, I better cut down, my wife and I said, we're going all in. We don't know what it's going to be like, but we're going to go all in. We're going to adjust. We're going to flow with this because that's how we're evolving, right?
So let's talk about, real quick, about the people who are struggling to evolve.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed. As you can see, I have a question on the screen. Why do people get overwhelmed and what can be done to overcome it? Let's break this. I want to break it down to a different kind of question now. So you have people who get overwhelmed every day, okay?
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the strategies that is necessary to overcome being overwhelmed.
Absolutely. One of the reasons people get overwhelmed, the most common that I've learned, is you're here and you've set an intention, you've set a dream, a goal. And now your mind, as soon as you set the goal, the pandemic's hit, what next? All of a sudden your mind goes to work trying to figure out every step, every scenario, all the 1,000,001 what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And that's where the overwhelm comes from. Because now you're 1,000 steps ahead of yourself trying to figure out every twist, every turn, every scenario. And in reality, look, the only way you're going to get success is take a deep breath, come back to present, and take the first step. There's a saying that I love that says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. But where the overwhelm comes from is because we're trying to figure out all the what-if scenarios. And it's the tributary effect. All of a sudden, one little negative thought hits your mind, and all of a sudden that becomes another one, and all of a sudden you're going, what just happened? And so the greatest tip that I can give people, take that deep breath in. Let it out. Come back to present. Be here right now and say, okay, what is one step I can take right now, right here? Then take it, celebrate. Yes. And I know this is going to sound funny, Vince, but one of the tips and anchors I use is when there's something to celebrate, I'll actually even go like this.
Pat yourself on the back.
10 pats on the back for Robert because Robert just did something to move in the direction he wants. And then what do? I go, okay, what's my next step? There's a reason that they say success comes one step at a time. But because we've been so conditioned to get so far and think we think we have control. That's got to be the biggest joke in life. We think we're controlling what's going on in our life. No, you're not. You can just be present. And here's the beautiful thing, too. When you're present, Vince, I talk about 4 currencies, and the 4th currency is the currency of experience. You now get to actually experience life. See, when it comes to my end of my days, I don't want to look back and go, wow, I really was a busy person. I didn't have a lot of family time, or I don't remember those vacations. What did we really do? I want to look back and go, that was such an amazing life. Because, and one of my practices is, I'm here with you right now. I'm aware of things going on, but I'm here with you. Because the more I can be present in the moment, the more I actually have a more amazing experience. Even if it's something negative, I want to experience it, because that's where my lessons come from. And I hope that makes sense.
So you mentioned the 4 currencies, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what are the other 3?
First one's the one everybody knows. Money. Too much money in your life is called affluenza. You do crazy things with it. Too little money is called poverty. And I've learned that people have a zone. Everybody's zone's going to be different, and your zone will change through the years. For me, when I was in Domino's Pizza, I used to be a franchisee. Anytime I started getting around $40,000 a year, I felt stressed out. Like, oh my goodness, we don't have enough money to pay bills. Anytime I'd get around $100,000 a year, I'd start doing crazy things. I'd start doing investments that I'd start losing money. So I noticed that if I was in that range, my life flowed and it was great. So that's currency of money. Second currency is a currency that we all have the exact same amount of, which is a currency of time. Too much time on your hand is called boredom. Too little is stress. And what I've learned on this one, Vince, is that people have very busy lives. That's what stresses them out. That's another reason to get overwhelmed. But they don't realize that they become good at being busy, but they're not good at being productive. And there's a whole difference there. See, when I do my calendar up, one of the things I do is called focus times. Because research has proven you can only stay focused on something for about an hour before your mind starts to wander. So I could come down into my office to write my new book. 8 hours later, I go up, man, was I busy. But I didn't do much on the book. What was I doing? Oh, I was on social media. Oh, I was checking emails. I was doing chats.
Yes.
Right? But so what I'll do on my calendar, I'll go 10 to 11, write book. And from that time, I get here. My office is closed down. Everybody knows, don't bother me. I'm not answering emails. I'm not answering phone calls. And in that hour of being productive, it's equivalent to about 6 hours of being busy. And so all of a sudden you free up a lot of time. So that's the currency of time. The third currency is a currency of fame. And when it comes to fame, as you've experienced, you've seen, fame ruins people's lives. And it's not that it's the fame that ruins it, but they don't know how to handle the fame. I love a gentleman who is an actor. He said, anybody can hit it lucky in an interview, in an audition, and get a role. One role. But the ones that are really good are the ones that know how to then maintain and continue on. And so when it comes to fame, I listened to an interview a few years ago with Jennifer Lopez. And the person doing the interview, he said, Jennifer, you're a powerhouse. You're a singer, you're a dancer, you're an actress, you're a businesswoman. But you're also a powerhouse in your relation, your family. How do you keep the two separate? And what she said changed my life, Vince. What she said is, when I'm on stage, when I'm in that part of my life, I'm J-Lo. That's my persona. I'm J-Lo. I'm still me, but I'm J-Lo. But when I'm at home, I'm Jennifer Lopez to my family. And the way I ingrain that is when I'm traveling around the world, I get so pampered and taken care of by assistants. I don't, my food's brought to me, my transport. I don't have to worry about anything. And so I'm Robert Raymond Riopel. That's my brand. That's who I am. But when I come home, I'm just Robert or Rob. And the other running joke in my family is my wife, when I come home from a couple weeks overseas, she'll go, honey, you're home now. No more assistants. Go take out the garbage. And I love it. I love it because that keeps me grounded.
Here,
because
Rob, take this honey-do list.
Yeah. Well, what do you think I was doing outside before this? I was doing the honeydew list. I've got an acreage that needs a lot of care. My wife and I are out there. We were weeding the garden. The honeydew list I love, because the moment I think I'm all that, again, I'm done.
Got you.
Right?
So what's the fourth
that's the
one?
third one. The fourth one is the currency of experience. And that's the currency that I love right now, especially because, as an example, let me test you here, Vince. Do you ever do vision boards or dream boards?
Yes.
Is there a car that you would love, that like your ultimate car that you'd love to have someday, or like the ultimate? What kind of car is that?
It is a the top of the line 750 IL. They don't even make it in America. The one that I want is not even made in America.
Okay, and why do you want that? How do you know you want that car?
Because it does everything in it except have a microwave.
Okay, have you ever actually rode in one or driven one?
Yes, I rode in one before.
So you've had the experience of it. That's how you know you want it, right?
Yes. Like, I fell asleep in it while someone was driving. And mind you, we were only going like, we were only out for like 30 minutes, and I fell asleep in the car. Like, I wasn't even tired. I just fell asleep in the car. It was winter. The seats were heated. I just got real comfortable, zipped my jacket down. And next thing you know, like, they're like, Vince, get up. We here. What? Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't even feel like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, I want this car.
And see, notice how you were able to articulate that experience. The heated seats, the zipper down. See, that's what I'm talking about. A student that a friend of mine, coach, he first thing he does with them is he does vision boards. And he said, I see you have a Lamborghini on there. The guy's like, oh, yeah. He says, why do you want it? And the guy could tell him the 0 to 60, the RPM. He could tell him everything about the car. And he asked the same question I asked you. He says, you ever drove one or rode in one? He goes, no. He says, before our call next week, I want you to either go to a dealership and test drive one, or I want you to go rent one. So the next week they get back together, and he says, so, did you do it? He says, yeah. He says, and what did you notice? I don't want a Lamborghini. He goes, why? He says, I'm 6'3". Getting in and out of that car was painful.
Lamborghini dream over.
Yeah, and so how many times do people think they want something, but they've never experienced it? And all of a sudden, if they ever achieve it, then all of a sudden it's like, this isn't really what I wanted. Why did I want this all that time? Why did I waste all that time chasing this? So if there's something you say you want, go and experience it. That'll tell you whether, and when I do masterminds, I do experiential masterminds now. That's why, like last January, I'm going to be a little selfish on this one. I'm going to tell you that, Vince.
Let's go. Hey, nothing wrong with it.
I fly on average over 200,000 miles a year around the world, but I'd never flown in a private jet. So I'm like, on my bucket list, I want to fly in a private jet. And I happened to meet a gentleman, be introduced, that he does trips with his private jet. And I went, okay, I'm not going to pay to go on a private jet. I'm going to make money to go on a private jet. And so I put out a message to my students. I said, I'm going to run a one-day mastermind. There's room for 8 students. We're going to all meet in Florida. We're going to hop on the private jet. We're going to fly to the Bahamas. We had 2 white Rolls Royces pick us up, give us a full police escort through the whole city to the Sandals Resort. We spent the whole day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the beach, enjoying life, masterminding, creating $1 million businesses because of the experience of being in that space. We all opened up and wanted to really help each other out. And then that night when we flew back, I would love to say I arranged it, but I didn't. As we're coming across over Florida, Kennedy Space Center launches a rocket, and we get to watch it from launch to atmosphere from the jet.
Wow.
That was an experience, right? So that's the key is when it comes to currency of experience. And my friend who owned the jet, he's now a good friend. He said it. His tagline is so true. Luxury, once experienced, becomes a necessity.
Say that one more time.
Luxury, once experienced, becomes a necessity.
I hope my listeners got that. I hope y'all got that. Once luxury becomes experience, it becomes a necessity. I just said it all wrong.
Yeah, look, it's all good. look, hey, because I'm watching you and ingrain it, and I'm watching your mind tick because I know you're trying to think of what luxuries do I want to experience next. I know where you're going on this.
For sure.
Yeah, no, it's luxury once experienced becomes a necessity. And I'll tell you, as soon as our borders open up properly between Canada and U.S., you better believe my friend, he's like, Robert, when are you ready to book the next one? Because I have students that are going, yeah, I want to, because when we posted pictures and they saw the experience we had, and the experience, like I said, what it did, it wasn't about the money. See, when I do a regular mastermind, people meet for the first time, they're somewhat open, they like the concept of mastermind. But when I make it an experiential mastermind, and before they ever start masterminding, they get an experience and they get to really meet each other and get to know each other. Guess what? Now it's because on my masterminds, I say, if you can help someone, open your Rolodex. Don't hold back. Don't be there of what am I going to get out of it. Be there to say, how can I give as much possible? I've met some of my students. I've also said, you know what? I need to introduce you to a friend of mine in China who's a multi-billionaire. And I said, let me make that introduction because obviously what you have, he's probably looking for, and the two of you together could probably do something. And people look at me and they go, why would you be willing to do that? Because I love to connect people. If someone's got something that's amazing, why would you stifle it? Why would you try to suppress it? Right. I want to promote it. I want to help people get out there because that's how we change the world.
So 4 currencies: time, money, fame, experience, right? Once luxury is experienced, it becomes a necessity.
Yes.
see, right now you caught me with my Brooklyn scowl on right now. You see what I'm saying? That's when I get focused, with my Brooklyn scowl on. That's what I'm like, all right then, let's go ahead and get to it. So let's talk about the 4 phases. You talk about the 4 phases of life that people constantly go through. Okay.
Yes.
And let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I use the acronym of OPEN. Open, because this was what my friend, the quantum monk, called his chaos modules, and I put it into the 4 phases of life. And the O stands for the observation phase. When you're in the observation phase, I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, hey, you're a human being, not a human doing. Have you ever heard that, Vince? Right?
No, I never heard that. I heard it in the human being line.
Yeah. Well, in the observation phase, you're actually a human creating. This is the time when you ask yourself, what do I truly want in life? Not how am I going to do it? What do I need to do? Just don't overwhelm yourself. Just what would an amazing life look like? This is where, you meditate. This is where you create dream boards, vision boards. This is where you really observe what it is that would be amazing for you in your life. When you go from the observation phase, then you go into what I call the P, stands for pamper phase, the pamper phase. And in the pamper phase, this is what most people miss or don't allow themselves to do, and this is why they sabotage and crash and burn. The pamper phase is where you take care of you. So in the pamper phase, this is where you book a vacation or go on a vacation. If you can't go on one right away, this is where you go and get a massage. You go get your a manicure, a pedicure. You go get a haircut, something Vince, you and I don't need. But you do something to take care of you. For me, it could be something as simple as reading a book. I love to read. So giving 30 minutes for myself to just get lost in a book. For me, it's also, it might be when my mind gets really busy, I will take an app on my phone called Calm, C-A-L-M. I love the sound of rain, and so I use the free version of it, and I'll put my headset on for 20 minutes, and I'll just listen to the sound of rain. I'll sit back, close my eyes. After about 8 or 9 minutes, my mind quiets down, and then I go into a refreshing zone. And here's what happens is, because people don't take care of themselves, that's why they get burnt out. When I started living my passion and training, I was training so much. In 4.5 years, I did over 200 live multi-day trainings, and I was only at home on average 2 days a month. I overlived my passion. I got burnt out because I forgot to take care of me. And at the same time, because I wasn't taking care of me, I herniated a disc and ended up going through 2 back surgeries. So, I learned about the pamper phase. So in the pamper phase also, you got to get creative. So people ask me all the time, they say, Robert, why is it you travel overseas? Why are you willing to hop on a plane for 10, 12, 14, 16, 20 hours? Well, one, I love to teach all over the world. But the selfish reason is because, Vince, when I hop on that plane, I sit in my seat, that's my time.
Gotcha.
That's Robert's time. There's no Wi-Fi. I don't do work. I watch movies because I love movies. I read, I sleep, I eat some good food, I drink some great wine. That, because I know the moment I arrive, the next 3 to 5 days, I'm on stage for up to 12 hours a day. So if I'm not taking care of me, how can I take care of my students? How can I give them everything they deserve to get? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Very much. Very much.
And you've heard in the rule number 1 in finance, pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, yes.
Right? This is paying yourself first to have yourself rejuvenated. Don't wait till you've done everything else. So on my schedule, before I put anything else in, my wife and I sit down and we schedule in our balance pieces, our pamper pieces, time together, time for ourselves, time with family, exercise, whatever it is that rejuvenates us. That goes on the calendar first, then the focus time, and then the calendar, the rest, we can fill it with as much work or whatever else we want because we're taking care of ourselves, and that's how we become more productive and more successful. So that's the pamper phase. See, and that gets you ready for phase number 3. Phase number 3, the E stands for energy. In the energy phase, this is when you get stuff done. This is when you make the meetings, you do the emails, you actually get productive. And this is, again, why the pamper phase is so important, because I can do an energy phase where I can put in an 18 to 20 hour day when I'm in the energy phase. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm tired, but I'm not worn out.
Right.
I'm not wasted. Right? I can go to bed, have a great sleep, wake up and say, that was an awesome day. So the energy phase is the third one. And then the E is for the unclutter. Because when you come that chaos hits, don't resist it, embrace it, because it's going to come. It absolutely is going to come. And the reason I call it the unclutter phase is the way you volunteer for to volunteer and cooperate with chaos. Vince, have you ever gone to your refrigerator, opened it up and went, ooh, maybe I better clean some stuff out of there. There's something that's old in there. So you volunteer, you go in and before, instead of waiting for him to do it, you go in and say, you know what, I'm going to clean out the fridge today. Every couple of weeks, I come down and I volunteer to clean out my office and straighten it up because I'm showing that I'm willing to cooperate and unclutter my life. Be willing to let go of something good to get something great. Be willing to let go of something great to get something phenomenal. And I'll use the example of a vehicle. Have you ever noticed when you're, I'm thinking maybe it's time to get a new vehicle because, you know, the repairs on my car has been costing me a lot. And also the moment you start thinking about a new vehicle, all of a sudden you start having more problems with your old vehicle, right?
Yeah, right.
It's almost like the car heard you and going, I'm taking that personal. What do you mean you're going to get rid of me? So until you're willing to actually let that vehicle go, you're not going to have space to allow a new one into your life. Plain and simple. And I love, again, going back to my friend, the Quantum Monk, here's what he says. Instead of being willing to live life, be willing to courageously allow life to live you. See,
so that like saying allow life to experience you.
Yeah, because you're a very spiritual person, right?
Very much.
Do you think you have control of what's going on in your life?
No, not at all. You want to tell God a joke? Let him know what your plans are.
That's right. And see, and that's the perfect example right there of people thinking they can live the life. But if they're sitting there and through their faith, through their belief, saying, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready for what God's got in plan for me because I know I can handle it one step at a time.
Yes.
I can get through it. And that's where faith really comes in. Is that's the courageously allowing life to live you. That's where that comes in. Because as you come through that unclutter phase, guess where you end up at? You're back in the observation phase.
Right. So
which allows you to have greater dreams, greater inspirations. You know, if you would have told me back in 2002 when I was sitting in the audience being a student, if you would have said to me, if someone would have come up to me and said, you know, Robert, over the next 20 years, you're going to travel around the world, you're going to impact over 500,000 lives, and you're going to just transform people beyond belief. I would have looked at him and went, who are you? Why are you that crazy? Get out of my face. Because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So as you're going through these phases, you're going to keep adjusting. And that's why those two words come so important. What's next? And the reason I said open, and this is what blew my friend away, he said that acronym is perfect because when people's lives are going good, that seems to be when chaos comes in and it's like a brick wall thrown up in front of you. And this is being able to say open sesame and go on through.
Facts. So we at the part of the show where I always have this mastermind question, but I'm going to hold off on that because we're at step 5 and 6 of the contents of the book. But like you said earlier, it's not really a table of contents. It's a blueprint.
That's right. It absolutely is. It is a workbook. Yeah. Step number 5, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Because, that self-doubt. And what's interesting, I have a friend of mine, he passed away a few years ago. At one point, he was known as the unknown billionaire. Gentleman by the name of Bill Bartman. He had gone from working on his living room or kitchen table with his wife. They built a business. He ended up becoming a multi-billionaire. At one point, the 19th wealthiest man in North America. Then he lost everything. And, because of a business partner that, pissed off the government and they seized everything. Not a good thing. But instead of playing the victim, he said, okay, I'll rebuild. But when he was rebuilding, his whole drive of why he got where he was is because he had suffered such low self-esteem as a child, cleft lip, kids making fun of him all the time. He knew that he wanted to help people increase their self-esteem. And so that was the culture he created around himself. And so as he was recreating his wealth before he passed away, he was in high demand to come in and talk to companies about the culture he'd built in his company. And every time he'd book in to go talk, he'd have his staff get a hold of 4, 5, or 6 schools in that city to book him in at an assembly where he'd come in and talk to the kids about self-esteem as one of his many ways of giving back. The guy was phenomenal. And
now, was that really, Bill Barton, the one who owns Bob's Furniture?
No.
Okay.
No. Bill Bartman, he had made his money in debt collecting, but he did it in a different way. Yeah. He ended up doing it where he actually, instead of phoning up going, all right, Vince, you're a deadbeat. You owe me money. Pay up or else we're going to make your life miserable. He trained his team to say, let's work with you. Let's help you. We want to we want to help you rebuild your credit. So he did it in such a phenomenal way. And, one of his stories that I loved, in his office building, they had something like 4,000 staff at the time. And on the main floor was the daycare because it was like, if you're working here and you have children to take care of, we'll take care of them at no extra cost for you. So they ran full on. And they had done some kind of milestone. And for the company, as a way of rewarding all the staff, they decided, and they were out of, it's somewhere in a southwestern or a southeastern state. It'll come to me when I quit thinking about it. But they had said to the staff, if we meet this milestone, we're all going to Disney World. And he chartered, when they hit it, they chartered 47 747s to take every one of his staff and family members to Disney World.
You see my face, right?
Yep.
You see that eye right there?
Yeah.
He did what?
So here he is. He's got a G6 because he loves planes. He's circling the airport, watching these 747s taking off one after another. 6,000 staff and family members they took to Disney World. That's awesome. That's phenomenal, right? So, and it all because he had low self-esteem. This is the way he wanted to live life. So that's step number 5 is believe in yourself more. And then step number 6, and I want your audience to hear this. Do not let the simplicity of my system fool you. Because that's what stops people from taking action. They go, it can't be that easy. And ladies and gentlemen, it is. See, step number 6, repeat the first 5 steps. Because here's how it works for you, Vince. You dream big. You find a mentor, someone to model. You take some action. You celebrate the success, which elevates your belief in yourself, which allows you to have bigger dreams, find greater mentors, take bigger actions, bigger celebrations, elevates your success. in your belief, and all of a sudden it becomes that beautiful perpetual cycle that you go through again and again and again. And read Bill's book. You got the right guy. Read his book. Amazing book. Amazing book.
So for everybody that didn't know who Bill Bartman was, I looked him up real fast. He is the founder of CFS2, is a consumer financial company, debt collecting company, and he is, you put his name in, he is all through Google. Like,
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going to find this book and I'll post it up. So remember the question I said I was going to ask you later?
Yes, sir.
All right. So usually I ask this question as we begin to wind this down. I ask this question because I think that is very relevant, that we remember the little boy or the little girl that was in us, that was a part of that chaos, that was that was a part of us not listening to those lessons, us saying, "Oh, forget you, I'll do it myself." If you had a chance to have a conversation, okay, with little Rob, all right, with little Rob today, what would you tell little Rob?
Well, that's a tough one, and here's why. I wouldn't want to change anything I've gone through because it's made me who I am today. But if I was going to tell him one thing, it would be you. Because I was a world-class people pleaser. I thought I had to please everybody. And so I would give that advice of just be you. Because when you're you, people either like you or they don't. And if they like you for you, that's awesome. If they don't like you for being you, that's awesome.
That's what's up.
It's
simple, either way, that's awesome.
It is. It is.
Rob, tell them where they can find a copy of the book, or, you know, become a part of your actual master class.
Yeah. Well, you just put up on the screen there, as a gift for you having me on your podcast, Vince, look, as a gift to your listeners and your viewers, if they go to robertriopel.com, just my name, robertriopel.com, they're actually going to be able to get and download the digital copy of my book, Success Left a Clue, as our gift to them for taking the time, their valuable time, to listen to this episode. And, you know, they can follow me on Facebook. You just put in Robert Riopel. You'll see my fan page come up. You can follow me there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. So my new virtual assistant tells me she's got me set up on all these now because I'm learning. And so Facebook is the one I knew, and I'm now learning the other ones. But yeah, when they download the book, though, Vince, it does come with that caveat. Don't just get it and read it and then put it up on the shelf. I want you to do the actions. Do the actions, and I promise you, your life will go in a whole new direction. It's amazing.
Tell me what you said you didn't want the book to become. You wanted to become a self-help book and not a shelf-help book.
That's right. I don't want it going on the shelf to become shelf-help. That's exactly it.
I mean, I want to say thank you for coming on here tonight. I'm quite sure your wife is watching. I want to say thank you to her because, you know, you couldn't have done it without that life partner there, without that drive, without that one that was saying, Rob, stop playing with me. You're going to go out there and you're going to go do it now. We're not playing with this. And I really got it when you said, hey, listen, do I still have it? She said to you, probably pointing in your face, are you done with it yet? Are you done with it yet, Robert? You think I'm playing with you, Robert? You're going to get back out there. You're going to do your thing, Robert.
Have you met my wife?
I can only imagine what this conversation went like. But, you know, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to leave for the listeners before we get on out of here?
Yeah, it's something that you just touched on, because I've heard all my life that behind every great man is a great woman. And I do not believe that to be true. See, that to me is so wrong. It's beside every great man is a great woman. And, you know, so I want to leave your listeners with, be you. I believe the greatest gift anybody can give this planet is to be themselves authentically and to always live with passion. Always live with passion.
Rob, I want to thank you for coming on this evening. Everyone that tuned in tonight, You know what I'm saying? My girl Trina Myers, my mentor, my guy, my number one man, Kenny Gordon in the building. My man Blue Lopi, my cousin Malcolm, Jen Welling, who has her own real estate company down in Florida. Cassie Derwin, thanks for tuning in. Man, listen, let me tell y'all something, man. If you could believe, you can achieve. But just like he said, it's 5 steps. Dream 6 steps. Dream big. Okay? Find a mentor to model after. But more importantly, learn to be a servant too. You want to find someone that you can actually give these jewels to. Don't be afraid to take action. Don't be afraid. Celebrate your small successes. Like he said, pat yourself on the back 10 times and then let's get back to it. Believe. Believe is probably the biggest step at the 5th one. Because if you believe that all of that happened, you'll be able to repeat it. And then, like he said, that perpetual cycle of success will begin to happen. Okay? Remember the 4 phases: open, observation phase, the pamper phase, the energy phase, and the last one is unclutter, which I believe is one of the most important ones, because get rid of the things that you don't need in your life. Get rid of the things and the people that's been holding you back. There's one thing that I always say, Rob. There's one thing I always say. You need to look at who's in your boat.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, listen, man. Rob, I thank you. Yo, it's your boy Vince Pass in the building. Truth be told, just came on. Shout out to them. Man, listen, I could go all night with you, Rob, but we got to get ready to get on out of here. I'm probably going to give you a call in a minute, so keep the line free. Listen, everybody, man, I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm going to have this available on One Voice, One Mic podcast on Anchor.fm. Like, share, and love. Subscribe on YouTube. And, yo, that's about it. We're about to be on up out of here. Rob, anything you want to say?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And anytime you want me back, you let me know. If there's any way I can be of assistance, you let me know. I'm there.
Oh, my God. We definitely going to have a part 2 to this. Actually, I may inspire you guys on this, because you know what? We need to definitely start pushing this positive energy in the world, man. We got to keep pushing it, especially in this time. But we're going to save this. You feel me? We're going to save it. 2 coming up, man. Part 2. I love you guys, man. We're going to talk to y'all later, man. Peace.